K-State broadcaster. You hear him on the sidelines for football, and does a great job. Matt, how are you today? Thanks for joining us.
Doing good, Matt. Good to talk to you again.
Wild times at Kansas State. When you saw that news conference after the Cincinnati game, Matt, did your gut tell you, "Ooh, this could be it"? Or, things obviously escalated pretty quickly. Other than the fact that they were 1-11, I think it was maybe headed to getting fired, but then to get fired with 6 games left. When you either saw or were there for that news conference, even in that moment, what was your reaction to that?
Well, I was actually traveling yesterday, Matt. I was in Ames to do the K-State women's game, so I was driving back, and about the time I hit Kansas City is when my phone started to explode. So, the timing was, I don't know, maybe caught some people off guard. Things obviously haven't gone well this year for the Wildcats, and some may say the timing was a little out of the ordinary and a little strange. It's not been a good Big 12 season, and I think K-State just got to the point of, with some things that transpired last week, that they felt the right time was this weekend. K-State lost at Houston on Saturday, gave a pretty good effort. But yeah, what's done is done.
Yeah, and I was wanting to zero in on that Cincinnati news conference. Jerome's comments there. I think the administration seemed to think he may have gone too far. And we've heard a lot of news conferences. We heard a lot of angry coaches. I don't know if you saw Doug Gottlieb yesterday. He was banging the table and dropping an F-bomb. And I think Jerome was basically, it's a little bit odd to see somebody probably say, these guys won't be back. A lot of these guys won't be back next season, right? Especially with 6 games left to play. When you saw that in real time or saw that right afterwards, what were you kind of thinking about Jerome? And I would have to think maybe you were thinking this seems like truly maybe the end, or the end is near for Jerome Tang. What did you make of that particular press conference for Tang?
Well, it definitely sped my mind up. I would say the first thing that probably went through my mind is, I'm not sure you should say that. I can understand the frustration, the aggravation, the disappointment. K-State's been saddled with a number of injuries that have not helped matters whatsoever. And I'm speaking for myself here in terms of when you're the head coach. I think you put everything on your plate. You have everything pointing your direction. You take the blame, you wear the blame, and it's all on you. It was a little bit out of the ordinary, and I think that's my perspective, is when you're the head coach in a Power Four or wherever. It doesn't matter if you're, and I'm throwing out Kansas schools here, but it doesn't matter if you're at a D2 like Fort Hays or Washburn. It doesn't matter if you're at a NAIA. I mean, it's your ship. You recruited the players, and to me, as the head coach, it's your job to wear everything, so to speak.
That Elite Eight was such a fun run, and it just seemed like the fan base had fallen in love with him, which is easy to do when you're winning at that level. It's kind of stunning, isn't it, to see how quickly the fall happened. And I guess it was somewhat gradual, because the next season wasn't as good. The next season really worse, and this year it just kind of flatlines. But when did
Matt, I think NIL had something to do with this too. Again, from the Elite Eight to today, there's a lot that's changed in college athletics, not just college basketball alone. And, there was a lot made last year of the amount that one individual is getting in particular, and that was Coleman Hawkins. And, Coleman didn't put up extreme numbers like you would expect or you would hope for when you're paying a player $2 million. K-State brought in literally a totally new roster this year, and PJ Haggerty's been as good as advertised. And then when you throw in the injuries that have befallen K-State, the depth has been thin, and K-State's just, they've not been able to hang, so to speak, in Big 12 play. And there have been mixed messages sent in the last month. If you want to call it pointing fingers, you can, but that's where I bounce back to me, just how, not just how I was raised, but how I think you should operate when you're the head coach and you're getting that kind of paycheck. Ultimately, it's on you, and you accept the blame, the responsibility, you accept all the baggage that comes with it, whether you're 11-1 or whether you're 1-11. And it's been odd this year. K-State's been a much better team on the road. The last 3 home games, K-State's lost by no fewer than 24 points. And again, it doesn't matter if you're at Baylor, if you're at Oklahoma State, or TCU. When you've lost 3 straight games at home by no less than 24 points, that's going to ruffle some feathers, no doubt.
How attractive, Matt, do you think this job still is? Do you think maybe some of this, what's going on, and it seems like maybe there could be some ugliness on firing him with cause? I don't know if that will deter people from wanting this job. It's been, there's some great history there at
Right.
K-State. Where do you think that is, and how much do you think the AD will place on, let's get somebody that's been a head coach now that obviously, seems like,
I think Gene Taylor will rely a lot on somebody that's got, some head coaching experience. I think it's a very good job. Like you said, there's a lot of history here. In Manhattan, you get great fan support, just, like anywhere. When you're winning, you're going to have fan support, and you're going to have a full building, and you're going to have eyes on TV when you're playing. K-State has have they been great in the last decade? Probably not, but it's still a very good job. I think you can win here. I mean, if you can get players, you can get players anywhere. If you're good enough, they're going to find you, and you can recruit them and get them. Obviously, it helps if you have ties and so forth, and you've got booster support. But I think it's a very good job, and to me, each hiring is its own entity. What happened with Jerome Tang doesn't mean that same thing's going to happen down the road. It's like starting over again. But no, I think this is a very good job, and where the interest will come from, I would think coaches that are having success, whether if it's an assistant from a Power 4, if it's a mid-major head coach that has established a good track record, I think that's what's going to matter. And at K-State, they want you to do it the right way. And there's no doubt. I think it can be done. It's a very good job and a very good program to lead.
all right, here comes Scott Drew into town. Isn't that interesting? Driscoll
I
takes
thought about
over.
this.
Yeah, Jerome's best friend in the world is Scott Drew, and he's coming to town. And we'll see where Tang ends up. A lot of Baylor people, Matt, are like, hey, bring him back, because obviously Scott had his greatest success with Jerome Tang. And we've seen people over the years, for whatever reason, maybe great assistant coaches don't always make great head coaches, and it just did not go his way. Boy, you're right. NIL changed everything. And quite honestly, Baylor's in a bad place right now, and maybe they'll be able to jump back. But you can go in the tank, but in basketball, as you know, Matt, you can come right back. And you're doing women's basketball. There's never been as much parity in this conference. I mean, you think about it, Kim Mulkey at Baylor just dominated the conference for about 17 years or whatever it was. And now literally every night you go somewhere, you get beat. I mean, I don't recall this much parity. I know Oklahoma's good, but they've left. But now everybody, even some of the folks that have come in, Arizona State has Molly Miller. She's a heck of a coach. This is about the most parity I can recall in women's hoops.
Yeah, I agree with that. You can, whether you're at home or on the road, you can get beat any night if you don't play your best. Kansas State's women go into Lubbock. Texas Tech was unbeaten. They were getting all sorts of love from around the country, and for good reason. K-State in front of 9,200 people winds up giving Texas Tech their first loss. K-State gave Iowa State a heck of a run yesterday up in Ames, had a lot of foul trouble in the first 5 minutes of the ball game, and still came back and kept things interesting. And it doesn't really matter the sport. I mean, you can look at the baseball season that's getting started. I mean, the Big 12 is just loaded, and you've got to show up every day, and that's part of why I think this is a good job. It's in the Big 12, and there's a whole lot you can do, and you're in front of literally the nation every time you play in some form on some TV channel. I think there'll be a lot of people that are really interested in this gig.
Did you like hearing our buddy Tom Barfield calling that third grand slam the Baylor player hit the other night? He was all over Sports Center. I don't even know if we can talk to him anymore. He's been featured on a lot of different platforms.
Yeah, it's been hard to get to Barfield for a number of years. I was texting him that night because I was paying attention to what K-State was doing down in Arizona against Iowa. And when I saw that, I texted him, and we went back and forth for a little bit. But that's one of the beauties of baseball. You never know what's going to happen. And that's why I tell folks, you don't leave the ballpark until the game is done, because the craziest things happen. I mean, yesterday for K-State, as a matter of fact, Matt, they were playing Penn State, good ball game going on, and K-State scores 14 runs in the seventh inning. And I think they hit one home run in that frame, and that was it. You never know, but good for Barfield. I'm glad he got a little national run, and love that guy dearly.
All right, and by the way, Colin Klein is as he's put that portal class to bed. He had a lot going on. He had to hire a staff. He had to bring in, had to do all the things you got to do to try to either keep some guys. He had a lot of guys. Some of them have ended up in Waco, by the way. Some of these, one edge rusher, maybe a couple of defensive backs that have ended up there. Ryan Davis is a player that people are excited about in Waco. But how did Colin end up doing? And are K-State people, seemingly from what you've seen, pretty pleased with what he's put together?
Yeah, I would say so. You really don't know until you get to late August, early September, and you start playing games. But he's talking about somebody that's had a full plate, and you just outlined part of it. I think a lot of positive things happened. Brought in obviously a lot of guys from the portal. I wish nothing but the best for Joe Klanderman down at Baylor. Heck of a guy, and I really enjoyed working with him over the years. But I think there's going to be a lot of positive things that happen with Colin and Kansas State starting right now.
Matt, thank you very much on a busy day. And this time of season, you got baseball, women's basketball. It's a lot to balance. And then you got to work in the Mosley show. So it makes for a busy day, but appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, good to talk to you again. Always appreciate the invite, and stay out of trouble.